Let's talk about it, Boulder.
We don't have to do anything. We're going to outwork them. We're going to out-recruit them. We're going to out-scout them.
As you know, Coach Prime has already said they're going to go after the best players they can get their hands on. They're looking to build good scouting and good recruits. And this week, it's been huge for the Buffs. A lot of massive pickups. Not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 pickups in the last 48 hours for the Buffs that could change the trajectory of the team. We talked about Hykeem Williams a little bit yesterday. We're going to dive more into him and that wide receiver room and look at that production. But the Buffs added 4 more players over the last 48 hours with Hykeem Williams. So let's jump in each one of them and show them their love here on the Prime Time for College Football. Thanks for pulling up. I'm your boy Jay. We're going to dive into the latest pickups and wins in the transfer portal for the Buffs. So as mentioned before, your first big pickup was Hykeem Williams here. And this is a massive pickup. He was a former 5-star wide receiver, and he has the intangibles to be great. Now, he did not flourish at Florida State, as which we had hoped, but it's okay. I think that he has an opportunity now to really flourish with the Buffs. But I want to jump on these other players first so that we can talk through them, and then we'll look at the wide receivers a little bit later, so make sure you stick around. First and foremost, the Buffs decided to go snatch themselves up another running back and punt return specialist in Dekalon Taylor. He comes from Incarnate Word. He was running back there, and he's been pretty big as a special teams guy. Returning 29 kicks for 576 yards in the last 2 seasons. And he was doing some big stuff with punts at 19 returns for 286 yards and a touchdown. So he's very dynamic in that capacity. But it's not the only thing, though. There at Incarnate Word, he put out over 900 yards on the ground and totaling over 1,000 total yards last season for the Buffs, for Incarnate Word for the Cardinals, and 6 yards per carry with 9 touchdowns. So 909 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns from Mr. Taylor. Looks like he could be very dynamic for what the Buffs are looking to do. It's, the running back room has lost some players, and Isaiah Augusta as well as Brandon Hood, who it appears that some of you jumped in the comments and said that he was being cut, which is why Colton Hood bounced, since they are a package deal. Neither here nor there. So the Buffs had to address that component as well. And the way they addressed it was go get another player. So they snatched up 2 players from the SEC, safety John Slaughter, as well as offensive lineman Larry Johnson. And I think these are pretty sizable pickups for the Buffs. Larry Johnson comes over. He played a fair amount there at Tennessee. And I actually thought he had a chance of taking some first or second team reps. I like checking out Tennessee as well. And they brought in a true freshman that the Buffs are actually after as well, Deion Sanders, and it appears Sanders have already won that spot. But Johnson comes in. He was a top 20 JUCO player when he was out there and available, and he's not someone to really sneeze at. 6'7", 348 pounds, a man. And from there, it sounds like he's been doing a good job of controlling his weight, but he's a giant. So when Jay Gardenhire bounced, which was the big offensive lineman, I felt like it was a massive project and a good opportunity. Him being out the door, this brings Larry Johnson in. And Johnson played some good minutes for Tennessee, a lot of cleanup time when they saw some injuries on that line there. And so he'll have an opportunity to come in and fight for a chance to play. He's got 2 more years of eligibility, which to me is enough. I just expect him to go out there and fight for additional time. In the secondary, though, you added Slater, who saw 22 games with the Vols. He dealt with a little bit of injuries, didn't play a bunch. I think he missed 3 games. He missed 3 games as a sophomore. This is what the note says. And he was okay, but I think he has the opportunity to, like I said, add depth. You're bringing the SEC talent, someone that's got SEC training for the last few years, and he can give you some additional, I guess you could say, snaps out there. That's never a bad thing to have, is good bodies that know how to play. You want to make sure that you have players that are capable to handle the grind on the football field. And I think that he'll be, like I said, he'll be a good depth piece. We'll look at all of the positions and stuff here over the next few weeks in May and talk through who's out there and who's slated to move up in the depth chart and kind of go from there. And then also the Buffs added a long snapper in Luke Whitting. And Luke comes in. He'll have 2 years left of eligibility, 6'4", 2 1/4. Long snapper. Played at Florida Atlantic as well as Idaho State. So you're getting a guy in that can just snap the ball. So already returning a long snapper in Cameron Hawkins. So it's not a massive need, but it's good to have additional components just in case. You never know what happens out there. Let me know what y'all think. Get in those comments. I want to hear from you all. So let's take a gander at this wide receiver room now. So you added in, got Hykeem Williams, who came in, the former 5-star, who is, nice size, 6'2", wide out, roughly 215, which we talked about how that's a pretty big pickup. But then from there, you added Sincere Brown as well as Joseph Williams. Joseph Williams from Tulsa, Sincere Brown from Campbell and FCS. But Sincere being 6'5", 190, brings in some nice size. And so when you look at the returning production, what they all brought in. And so with only Dekalon as well as Amarion Miller, you don't have as much returning productions with Dekalon having 227 yards of reception yards, and Amarion coming in with 216 before he got injured. But I think that him coming off injury, I think he'll be fine. He'll be able to truly contribute. And honestly, my expectation is I expect to see a lot of Sincere Brown, Hykeem Williams as well mixed in with the Miller boys. And I think Joseph Williams has a chance to also come out there and play. Sincere is a senior and Hykeem's a junior. So, you'll have a little bit more age there. And Amarion, of course, being a junior, but I expect him to come back for at least one more year from there. And then Joseph being younger as a sophomore. And then, of course, your true freshman that came through and enrolled early. You get them rolling. Going to be cooking there in Boulder. And so I think Coach Phillips is going to have him some fun shaping these players and this room around. What y'all think? The numbers aren't as impressive. It's 2,300 yards of total returning, I guess you say production from last year, with roughly 500 yards of returning production for Colorado. And then you're adding in the additional 1,700 yards you're getting from the new guys. The Buffs should be able to make something happen. So Caden Salter as well as Juju Lewis has some pretty good players to throw to. We'll see what happens. What do y'all think? Hop in the comments. We definitely want to hear your thoughts. All right, we're out. We'll talk more about visitors coming this weekend. We'll have a video coming out tomorrow to talk through some players that are coming through. We'll see if some more are joined on the list. But it sounds like the Buffs are trying to extend themselves heavily into the IMG Academy world and potentially win some players out there. Definitely want to hear from you all and what y'all think about that. We'll chop it up in about a day unless something else drops later on. We'll talk soon.